Hey everybody, hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode here on the ShabinLife. Hopefully you can see me okay and hear me okay. Normally the sun's in my face and I'm just a big shadow. Just got up to the land. It is Thursday the 27th of June. It's really nice out, probably 80 degrees up here. I really just came up to brush cut the field. It's been about maybe 5 or 6 weeks since we've been up here, and I don't know when I'm going to get back here, so I knew the grass was going to be long, and as you can see, at least if you can tell from the video, it's 2 feet easy, 3 feet in some spots, and it's probably going to take, you know, a good 6 hours or so to brush cut it all down. But my hope is that this is the last time I'll be doing all of it. Hopefully in a couple weeks we'll be breaking ground to start building the house. So what you can't really see here from the driveway will get keyed and stoned in order to get us up to the house, and then the excavation will start for the foundation, and then the foundation gets dropped, and then my wife and I will start building the house, and we're really excited. It's been a long time coming. You know, in theory it's been years and years and years just in our heads, but we got the property a couple years ago for anyone that's been following us, and it really has just been a slow, steady clear the land with just the brush hog and chainsaw and some other odds and ends. So it's sort of been slow going, but we've enjoyed every minute of it while we've been up here. Obviously we've got the shed dropped and kind of converted that a little bit so that we had a place to store a bunch of gear, as well as, you know, sleep while we were up here, especially during the colder months. But we're real excited to start the house. It's maybe I can do a little video separately on the build. I haven't said anything or really done much on it yet because I was still finalizing things, but we did just get the prints finished, or the drawings finished. For those of you who live in areas where building codes or permits and stuff aren't required, more power to you. I'm not saying that there's a chance your house might fall down, but certainly if you know what you're doing, it certainly makes life a lot easier. We're in PA, North PA, and I appreciate building codes and such, and, you know, having to pull permits. It certainly makes sure that things are done right, but you know, I'm not used to relying on a lot of other people, and, you know, with permits and, you know, stuff like that, and as well as just everything involved in starting to build this house, I've had to rely on a lot of people, and, you know, not everybody pulls their weight. Communication is really difficult with some people. Being hours and hours away from the land doesn't mean that I can just drop by or stop by a place. So it's been unique, to say the least. I know I use that word a lot. And for those of you who watched the solar video, I've heard that it has been turned into a drinking game every time I say essentially, ultimately, and something else, basically, or something like that. I'm glad I forgot whatever last word it was. I'll try not to do that down the road. But, you know, in PA, for instance, you know, my wife and I have been using a honey pot for years. I mean, I always think back to my brother who worked for a landscaper, and, you know, he would just put a little water in the bottom of a bucket, take a poo, fling the bucket out, good to go, right back to landscaping again. I'm used to using a bucket to go to the bathroom. My wife is. You know, we kind of made it really pretty in the Shabin as far as it being a composting toilet. And we knew that when we built the house, we just wanted to have, you know, a composting, you know, bathroom, and then build a nice humidor hacienda, compost all of the waste, use it around the trees. You know, we've been planning on that for years and years and years, and I'm sure we'll wind up still doing that. But it always makes me laugh when I read certain regulations, and in particular in PA, you can absolutely have an NSF, which I think is the National Sanitation Foundation. You can actually have an NSF certified composting toilet in your house, as long as you have one fully functional toilet. So in order for me to have a composting toilet, I just have to pay 20 grand for a septic system and then hook it up to my normal toilet, my everyday standard $500 toilet, in order to have a composting toilet in the house, which it just is sad but makes me laugh. You know, at that point, what am I using a composting toilet for if I just put out 20 plus grand in order to be able to, you know, poo regularly? And like I said, we'll still probably do it, but that's just one aspect of building where we chose, you know, that makes it a little tougher or a little bit more to work with. We stayed in North PA just because we have family on the East Coast, and it just made it a little easier for us still to be able to visit that family and be with that family, you know, rather than be, you know, either really, really far northeast or really, really south on the East Coast. And obviously, you know, we didn't want to go west because of that. And there's other reasons too in regards to, you know, licenses that my wife and I hold for work. You know, they're Pennsylvania licenses, so if we wanted to do our jobs in different places, we'd have to get certified, you know, in those areas. And not that it's not possible, but it just made sense. There are a lot of things. I mean, we love PA. We've been here forever. We love North PA just because of its mountains and, you know, sort of what it has to offer. In addition to, you know, it still keeps us close to the coast, which is nice. You know, for a 3-hour or so drive, we can be at the ocean. You know, but at the same time, we've got the mountains up here if we want to, you know, go snowboarding or if we want to hunt. And obviously, we love the Four Seasons. That was a major deal with where we chose to be. We're not just, you know, summer people. We love the winter. We love the snow. Where we are, you know, they say there's 3 seasons, you know, winter, June, and July. So we'll see about that. We've been here for a couple years, not steady, but we've gotten to see, you know, sort of what the winters are like. And they're cold, and there's definitely more snow here than where we are a few hours south. But that's okay. We're excited. But anyway, you know, I'm up here this couple days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning, basically just to brush cut the field and buy me another few weeks before we have to get back up here. Sometimes it just gets unmanageable, and we've got so much going on and so much about to get started here. I didn't want the grass to get obnoxious, so that we were basically, you know, using the excavator to dig up stuff we didn't need to. But I'm going to clear cut today, and then I also have been dumping some rock over by the shed in an effort to soon place an IBC water tote so that we can do rainwater collection off the Shabin roof. I know that when we start to build the house, I'm going to need a little more access to more water. Right now, we just bring up 5 and 10 gallon jugs with us when we stay for a couple days, which is fine enough to, you know, coffee and, you know, cook up food and take a quick shower in our little bucket shower outside. So it's worked out really well. But we're going to need more water for, you know, mixing, you know, bags of concrete and stuff for piers, and, you know, just to be up here for, you know, 5, 7, 10 days at a time. Certainly we'll be able to filter that water. You know, probably we'll just use our Berkey filter system as far as the drinking water, but for mixing wood, you know, for water that we need for the build, you know, it will be nice to have maybe 1 or 2 330 gallon IBC totes up here collecting water off the roof. And I've been dumping water or rock over there from jobs that I do in the burbs in order to have a platform to set the IBC totes on. So I brought with me this just a quick little framed, you know, 6-inch, 5 foot by 5 foot, 6-inch high frame that I built, just basically like a raised garden bed. I'm going to set it down and level it over there. I bought some other buckets of rock, fill it in, see if I can't get a little base there so that next time I come up and we've got the IBC totes, I've got it already, can just plop it down and then run the gutters and pipe right into it so that we're good to go. So just, you know, going to do that, cut the grass, maybe just a few odds and ends here and there. I'm hoping that maybe some of the blueberry bushes in the back lot, you know, in the back of the field are flourishing so that maybe I can pick some blueberries. And I was kind of hoping that the crabapple tree was in bloom and the crab apples were there, because I was going to harvest a bunch of those to take back to the house and see if we could make some jam or pies or, I don't know, liquor. But yeah, so just a few things that I'm going to do while I'm up here. I just wanted to make a quick video. It's always nice to pop up something, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes long, on the YouTube channel. Again, we don't get up here but maybe every 4 to 6 weeks, so it's not often that I get to make these videos. But while I'm up here, I'll try and show you some new stuff. I know it's always me basically just brush cutting, so I apologize. It'll be a lot better in a few weeks once we break ground to start building the house. I'm excited to bring you guys along. I've watched so many videos of people building their homes, their off-grid homes, they're building up their homesteads, and I mean that's been our dream for years. So we're getting there. It's coming alive. But hopefully in the next few weeks we'll start keying the driveway. We did the 100 feet or so of just dropped rock that we did last year just so that we had a place to park. But we'll be keying another 350 feet. And by keying, basically just digging so that we have, you know, like a frame cut in the dirt, get through all the soft stuff, and then we'll be back dropping some red shale, and that'll go about another 300 feet or so up towards the build site. And then that shale is also going to get dropped in a 40 by 40, like a 40 by 40, what you call it, like a platform, in order for me to bring the crane in for the concrete trucks to drop the precast foundation walls. So we'll get hopefully we'll have tons of videos on the driveway getting done. And while the driveway's getting keyed, it'll be about the same time that we start to dig the foundation. We're doing a 4-foot crawl space, and that was by choice. But we're doing a 4-foot crawl space from Superior Wall. That's really the only person I'm having come in here to actually subcontract. That way I can get the foundation dropped really fast, set in place, ready to go, and then I can start building the subfloor and basically just start rocking and rolling right away. And again, I don't really like counting on a lot of other people. I've been excited for a long time to build this house. I'm sure I'll get some helping hands from friends and family, but I'm excited that it'll be back on my shoulders again to try and get things moving and grooving. That means I'm only counting on me, so I really don't have anyone to blame if it's not getting done but myself. But super excited, and you know, so hopefully the videos to come after this will be a little more exciting, a little bit more transformation happening on the land other than just grass grows and then gets cut. But I'll try and show you some things while I'm doing it in the Shabin, cooking some food, aka eating pre-made sandwiches and eating Cheerios. But thanks for stopping in and checking out the video, and whatever I can show you that's interesting and worth watching, I'll be sure to do so. So stick around. So for the past couple of years, this is basically what we've done. In the very beginning, we literally could only pull the truck right into the mouth of the driveway opening because my truck would just sink. So we would park. I have the camera. about 150 feet into the property, maybe 100, 150 feet. So we'd park at the mouth, and we would basically walk everything from the truck to the shed, which is, I don't know, 300 feet. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're carrying, I don't know, those buckets of rock have to be 70 pounds when you're carrying those. And you think wheelbarrow, but I've dropped the wheelbarrow a couple times just because of the ruts and stuff in the ground, and then you're just a wasted bucket of rock. But in the snow, it was a total pain in the butt. And then we got a sled, so it's a little easier to pull all that stuff in the sled, whether it be like wood or rock or whatever we need to bring in. And we do have a stone path that we laid that goes from the end of where we stopped the driveway to the shed. But it helps a ton, especially in the snow and even during the summertime when the grass gets really high. But yeah, it'll be nice when the driveway goes all the way up. It'll be, I'm looking forward to the first time I can literally park the truck right behind the Shabin, let alone drive all the way up to where the house is going to be. But now I'm just getting the rest of the buckets of the rock to bring over. I know it sounds silly to carry them instead of put them in the wheelbarrow, but sometimes just carrying the two heavy buckets keeps you nice and evenly weighted on both sides. And if you walk slow and just be careful, you know, for the most part, you're in good shape. But I'm going to grab the buckets of rock and take them over, and then we'll start laying out the frame and get it all leveled out, all that good stuff. This is essentially where the IBC tote's going to go to hold the water that runs off the Shabin roof. Basically, just run gutters on both sides and then use some 3-inch S&D pipe that I use for work to tie everything together, and maybe put in like a really small first flush pipe. And then basically I'm going to level this all out, fill it in with rock. IBC tote will sit here, and then we'll just bring it over and drop the pipe down, make sure we can clean it out. But it's sort of out of the way. The driveway's coming up behind, so there really won't be anything in its way. And eventually, from the Shabin over to the driveway will eventually be all rock. That way, whoever's if I'm loading stuff into the shed, I can pull right up, or if someone's staying in there, a family comes up and wants to sleep in the Shabin, they can just back right up. Or ultimately, I think what I'll want is for anyone that's bringing pop-ups, you know, they can pull the pop-up here or pop up on the other side of the shed. But I'm going to lay it out and get it level, fill it with rock. Not too exciting, but it is what it is, right? Alright, so I did what any good YouTube video maker would make. I got it ready, and then I hammered it once, and now it looks perfect. Thanks for skipping over all the ridiculousness. So I'm going to try and throw some cardboard down just to keep the weeds from coming up. Start putting some rock and fill it in. Probably won't be enough to get it all filled to the top, but hopefully over the next trip or two, I can bring up a bunch more buckets of rock and level it all off, and we'll be good to go. And IBC tote will sit right on top, like I said, filter everything in, and maybe if I get funky enough, I'll throw like a little RV water pump or something inside, a little 12-volt water pump, and I'll pump it into the house so that it doesn't have to be gravity fed out here. But we'll see how it goes. In theory, everything always sounds awesome. In reality, it's always a whole different story, but it's always good to have grand ambitions, right? Not bad. Good start. Maybe 5 or 10 more buckets, fill it up nice and level. Be ready for that water buffalo. All right, try and give you guys a general idea of how high the grass is. Use the force, Luke. Use the force. So pretty high, and at this speed, should be done by next week sometime. All right, next shot, all finished. Afternoon on Friday, a bunch of hours later after brush cutting, all finished up. Not gonna lie, I'm tired. I think that might have been the first time that I've had to brush cut everything that's cleared at once, and it takes a while, at least 6 hours. I kind of go on slow gear. That way it cuts half decent, and it doesn't jostle you around as much when you're hitting the stumps and the rocks and holes and stuff like that. But it turned out really nice. See if I can walk you guys around a little bit. I'm gonna take a little tour so that my parents can see and my wife can see and stuff too. This is probably the most clear that everything's been at once, aside from having the brush piles, which keep getting bigger and bigger. But we'll walk around and flip the camera around a little bit and see. So, kind of see if I took I know I took some video yesterday. It's all cut down. Some brush piles down there. And you know, this was the last area that we cleared. So it's the worst area. I mean, it's still tons of stumps, and you know, the bushes have, you know, the roots sort of sticking up that were too thick to cut. But I mean, there's a nice little line all the way down and all the way around. The idea was that, like I think I said before, we wanted to mark off like 4 acres. So if we go all the way down to that corner, which I'll walk down to, and then what we did was I made a line, a parallel with the property line, all the way down through the woods, all the way into the back, into that corner, and then it comes up all the way in the back, and it basically meets where the driveway is going to end. The house, if you can see a pin right there, and there's a line I'll walk up, that's where the house is going to be. But the driveway is going to go another 150 feet past the house. That way, if we do, you know, workshop or, you know, sheds and stuff like that up past the house, the driveway will be able to take us all the way up there. So basically, it's just a big square that we marked off. That is just about 4 acres, I think. Obviously, none of that is clear in there, but the septic tank is going to go somewhere down in there, and it'll run over to the drain field, which is down there, and then obviously from there it'll go up to the house. So I don't want to do too much until I know what's getting dug up, what's getting cleared by the excavator, you know, all that good stuff. But last time we were here, we decided that when we clear all this area back here, that's going to be where we actually do the gardens. We anticipated doing them out here in this flat area, but after we looked back in this area, it's actually just as flat, and we know that we're going to clear it, so it'll be really nice for greenhouses back there, storage sheds, a really nice sized garden. I have a feeling we'll do raised beds like we did in the burbs. We like that, plus it's nothing but fieldstone here, so we'll do probably a mix of like a hugelkultur and, you know, just some really nice compost and, you know, soil mix. And it'd be nice raised beds, but probably 20 or 30 raised beds back there, and you know, really nice fenced in. I mean, that's really what we've been excited about for a long time. We would have expanded our you know, suburban house, but, you know, for the resale value, you know, unless you got like the perfect buyer, nobody essentially wants a farm in their backyard and a tract home development in the burbs, or at least we would have. But we'll take a walk down and sort of walk around. Maybe I'll edit the video so that you don't have to watch the whole thing. But I was saying earlier, these white flags, it's 1, and then the crabapple, and then 3, 4, and then past there you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4, and then 4. So right now it's staked off for 16 fruit trees. I believe we'll do another line, and I think that there's area for 3 or 4 more on the other side, but we didn't want to get too nuts, and we know that we're going to wind up fencing a portion of this in, so we just wanted to kind of get an idea of what the orchard would be like. And like I said, we sort of based it off this crabapple, which I normally wouldn't keep, but it's so pretty, and it really does flourish when it blossoms. So we'll probably trim this back massively so that it fruits a little nicer, and that'll just be a little different. I'm sure we'll find something to do with the crabapples. Funny enough that you know, it took us a while to figure out what type of tree it was, and obviously when you think crab apple when you're younger, you know, you just always see those, you know, not fully formed apples, but really these crab apples look more like cherries. And you know, funny enough, it took us a while to figure out there's a million varieties of crab apple, but we figured out, we think, what this actually is. I think it's called an Annie. And funny enough, after, you know, researching and trying to figure it out and, you know, reading about certain things, we're walking in our neighborhood at home one day, and there's literally one right on the sidewalk. And we live on like a tree-lined drive, so that everything just blends together. But, you know, damn if there isn't one just growing right on the side of the road. So I thought it was funny after all that research, you know, there's one just right down the street. But like I said, to hear the flags, you can sort of see it. We're excited about the orchard. We'll probably do trees from Stark Brothers. Of course, you know, they only ever have like one of the 19 million things that you want. And we're in 5B, so got to be a little careful about what we want to grow up here. You know, most of the stuff that would probably grow in 7A, which is where we are a few hours south, probably would survive up here. But we're really excited, if I didn't say that already. But so excited to have this all cleared. I know that there's not original video, you know, all the way down here, or probably really taking our time showing a lot of this, but it was packed, man. And I guess, you know, it's such a bear to brush cut all this, and you know, the more you clear, the more you got to cut. But I'm so proud of us and so excited, and you really can see the dream coming alive. But yeah, so I didn't really show much in the last video or talk about it or post anything, but we did have our perk test done. Funny enough, when they originally perked this lot, they basically perked where the shed was, if not a little bit closer to the street and a little bit further up, which is, you know, realistically the only spot anyone would ever put a driveway. So I was a little upset. You know, one, I just didn't even care. I just wanted to know that the lot perked. You know, obviously now here we are, we're figuring out the lay of the land where we want things. So if you can see down here, you have pink, 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 and then the two pink flags over there. It's on a little bit of a horizontal, or it's on a little bit of a diagonal here. It's not directly across, it's more like this. It'll be a 12 by 50, at-grade system. So I'm really stoked. Basically it's 18-20 inches off the ground, maybe 24 inches tops, and then it'll just be graded with swales on each side to let the water run around. And like I said, the tank is over on this side. You know, you can read all kinds of stuff about, you know, septic. For those of you who aren't familiar with like what you have to go through, I mean, realistically you have to perk the lot, you know, to do a perk test. But even before that, you know, like you can see some of these big dirt areas. You know, I had to come out with an excavator and dig up, you know, 5-6 feet down just for the SEO, the septic enforcement officer, to come out here to find out whether the soil was even worth perking. You know, so that costs money. Then you have to have the perk test, which costs, you know, a decent amount of money. You know, then you have to have the permit for the set. You know, you have to pay somebody, an engineer, to design the septic. Then you have to pay for the permit. So, you know, you're a lot of money in before you even have the septic system. Like I said earlier in the video, we're gonna go with like an eco. It's a cocoa core tank. So I don't think it's super new. It's been around for a little while, but it's environmentally friendly, I think, and it takes it from a 2-tank system down to a 1-tank system. It's basically split. But so that's going to be the septic. I'm sure we'll talk more about that when it actually gets installed. I don't know necessarily whether or not we'll do that right away. There's plenty of access to come back and do all the work, so I think that you know, I might just take my time putting that in. I know I'll need it for our UNO, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, it can be last. But it's just so cool to come down here and be able to walk. So I basically have a flag right there, green flag. Nothing like picking the color green to put flags at, right there. And what I did was, if I step back, you can see I have a flag right on that tree. So what I did was I came about 200 or about 300 feet down, maybe I think about 250, 300 feet from our property line up this way, and I marked all the way in a straight line, or, you know, parallel to the property line, 250 or 300 feet down all the way up, in order to get a nice straight line. That way I left us like 150 foot buffer to the edge of our second lot. And the idea here was that, you know, we didn't really need to clear all this stuff down here, but I do know that eventually we will probably do a pond somewhere back in this area. It'll, you know, I'll understand it a little bit more once we clear and kind of take a few of these trees out. But there is, where the driveway is going to go, there's going to be a culvert underneath the driveway about halfway between the street and the top of the driveway. It's on the other side of the Shabin, way up there. Basically the road, it dips here and it dips here, so there'll be a culvert with a header underneath the driveway because there's a runoff, and the runoff comes, you can sort of see where the rocks show you, the runoff comes down and, you know, kind of goes right where I stopped along this line and all the way down. So the idea is just basically utilizing that to run right into the what will be the pond, you know, let's say somewhere down in this area. But I did cut a little trail so that you know, my wife could see. You know, we haven't really walked, so, you know, basically you can see the lot up there. You know, there's the entrance to the driveway. My truck's parked up there, the Shabin, the house will be up there. You know, it doesn't seem like much when you're looking on video, but I mean, this is a ton cleared. Super excited. But we've walked the property a bunch of times, some in the winter, even in the summer, when we could walk it up at the top of the lot because it's a little easier to get through than obviously trying to get all the way through here. And I mean, the back of our property, we're 400 and some odd feet wide, but we're like 1,800 to 2,000 feet deep. But I just cut this little trail yesterday when I was brush cutting so that I could walk, because I actually could see a flag that I posted a while back when we first bought the lot of where I thought our property line was based on the pin that's out on the street. And I'm sure I'm not spot on, but it seems like everybody I talked to up here, you know, everybody's property is 20 acres, 40 acres, 150, 400. No one exactly knows where or what's what. I'm sure eventually we'll have the lot surveyed, but, you know, I cut down. And now that was a flag I put up when we first bought the property. So, I mean, I'm sort of down, you know, in the thick of things now. That'll be a nice tree to clean up, along with a zillion other ones like this crazy one right here. But you can see, I mean, it's just nuts thick back here. But this was one of the flags I remember putting out. And I know that if I look, I can probably see one, you know, on an angle up that way. But it's pretty amazing. I mean, we're pretty far from, you know, where I was just standing, let alone, you know, the property line way up there. So it's sort of exciting now that I'm starting to clear and be able to make my way down and have it a bit more open. It's kind of cool to see what's what, and, you know, what is usable, what isn't usable. And, you know, if we really did want to have some livestock, or that, like I was saying, that pond, you know, is probably over there somewhere. And, you know, at first you don't think, wow, is there really enough room? But then you come down here like, man, there's just plenty of room. You know, not talking about having a lake by any stretch, but it's kind of cool. And it's actually, it's fairly, you know, everything grades down. There's a creek like maybe another 10 acres down this way. There is a creek that eventually runs underneath the street and all the way down. But everything sort of grades, so there's like, you know, stuff comes down. And I mean, the back of the property is crazy nuts. It's awesome hunting, but it's, I mean, you would think there'd be mountain goats back there. It's pretty crazy. But when you come closer to the street front here, it has still a little bit of a grade to it, but the slope's only like 8% to 12% slope, so it's not too nuts. So it's actually cool to see some leveled areas back here. Once everything's all cleaned up, which I'm sure will take years, it's kind of neat to think that we'd be able to do some cool stuff. I mean, maybe even bring in, you know, a few head of cattle or something, as long as, you know, we section off the area where the septic is. I think there'd be plenty of room to even have something like that. But, you know, certainly goats and all that good stuff. And maybe if I get the goats, they can do a little bit of this work for me. But I just wanted to be able to walk down the path, get to the property line, kind of survey the land. But again, I mean, it's pretty usable, other than, you know, these, you know, trees that have just been doing their thing. I mean, brush cutting in here is not too bad. You can't see the rocks. The rocks and the boulders are nuts. I mean, some of the stuff when you get deep back in there are the size of, you know, Volkswagen vans. It's crazy. Super awesome. My wife calls them her meditating rocks. But yeah, it's kind of neat. Long video of just forest, but, you know, so I'm probably about 200 feet to the road.
out there, maybe even a little bit more at this point. Just to give you an idea, I left about 100-foot buffer between the road and, you know, up here where I brush cut down to the corner and then started to make my square. I left about 100 or 150 feet to the street as just a buffer. Some of the trees in there are just totally shot. But eventually, if we brush cut all that and clean it up really nice, we'll probably just throw a whole bunch of wild flower seed down there and just let it do its thing. But be excited to hunt this year too. I think we focus so much on sort of trying to get a lay of the land and moving things forward so much that I haven't even had a chance to come up here. So this year we spent some time walking the trails in the back, or you know, the game trails I should say, and setting up some trail cameras so that we could see what was going on and finding good spots for stands. So I'm excited. So like I said, you know, this tree right here has the green, and if I were to just stand, it would be basically straight up here. You know, eventually we'll clear all that up, and everything from there up to the house will get cleared. Like I said, it'd probably take a long time, but slow but steady, slow but surely. But I've already once run the brush mower back and made a line all the way back there. It was a total pain in the backside, but I just followed my flags to the best I could. You know, weaved around trees and rocks and stuff like that, but at least got all the way up to my corner and then all the way up to the top of the driveway, just so I could kind of get an idea of like what would be considered part of that 4 acres and what wouldn't. But yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Just cool to be able to walk down here. It just makes me think of when we first got the land. It just was absurd. And I mean, it's nuts. I mean, you can see there's rocks and rocks everywhere. I mean, even all this stuff, this is all cut today, but it just still stands. So what I do is I just cut it and let it sit there, and then when I get the brush mower out on this dead stuff, I just run it over. But you can see like it's all snapped and cut down there, but it just still stands up. This stuff is crazy, and it's a mix of, you know, like a briar and bushes and thorns and some vines. It's crazy. And if I can get it to run it over onto the ground, eventually it just decomposes. The stuff that I did in the first year or so has slowly just gotten chipped up and is just sitting on the floor now. So there's another one of the green, another green marker. So again, you know, I think I ran my brush mower up there because I couldn't get through here, but I went up, and you can actually see that the game are using it as a trail now. But it went up and around this big tree here, and then just found my next marker and just kept going. Tons of blueberry bushes that we're finding, which is super cool. Tough part is, you know, you don't know they're blueberry bushes unless you get a really good look at them or you finally find blueberries on them. So now that we've seen what's what, we're trying to keep an eye out for certain stuff. That way we don't cut things down that we can either move or, you know, trim down or leave there. But there's the flag. So to give you an idea, there's the Shabin. Over there between the two piles is going to be the septic drain field. And right around this flag, somewhere in this general area, will be the tank. And straight up through that trail right there, we'll take it right to the house. I'll walk up and you can see. So it's cleared up and around. I'm going to walk through my little trail here, just because I can. Talking about the rocks, like that's a big boy right there. Speaking of blueberries, these are all blueberry bushes here. And now we're out, so you can see that's the house, basically where I didn't mow. That's the Shabin over there. And again, you kind of get a little bit of a lay of the land. This area up here is a bit nuts too. I mean, there's tons of rocks and big stumps and stuff. I think I called it Stump City when we first did it. So this was the first time I think I brush cut all of this at the same time, and it was a nightmare, I'm not gonna lie. But all of this in here will get cleared, and like I said, here's the house. These trees will come down too. Oh, it sucks to take trees down, but there's no shortage of them here, so I think we'll be okay. That's the house. It's 28 by 40. Just a ranch with attic trusses on one side and cathedral on another. Nice and easy. It'll have like an 8 or 10 foot deck that wraps all the way around, and then around that side. And then there'll be a building up there that houses a cistern that holds the water runoff, pumps it into the house, along with all the solar equipment. And at first we were gonna mount solar on this side, but so much of this is coming down, and we're putting the idea is to put a nice size workshop up here, that we think we may actually put the solar on the workshop and keep everything on this side a little less exposed, you know, to everything from the street front, and it makes it easier for me to run because all of the electric in the house is on this side, the service panel, all the, you know, charge controller and inverter and, you know, generator battery backups and stuff is all on this side. So if we don't have to trench all the way over, you know, if we don't have to trench all the way over this side, it might make it a little bit easier, but we'll sort of see. Like I said earlier, in theory everything sounds awesome, in reality totally changed. But all down here, you know, probably somewhere back in this general area, all the way back, all the way over and up will be gardens. It's hard to see it now, but I can picture it. I really can. And it's nice and flat back there. And all it really is rocks, saplings, and brush. There's nothing really massive tree-wise back there, so it shouldn't be too difficult. You know, maybe by the time we start to do all that kind of work, if I have a tractor, it might make it a little bit easier than having to hand brush cut a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I know I'm just walking around. Sorry, I'm just talking and showing. But I'm just excited that so much is cleared. So again, normally I would come back and brush cut all the way down, and then I'll walk back there so you can see. But the idea is that when you come back here, this is the line at the back of the driveway. So if I were to walk straight down there, I would eventually hit the last green flag of my 4 acres, and then up to all the way to the top and down. The driveway is going to come all the way up to here. So that big square that I basically just walked, that huge square, or I walked half of it, is the around 4 acres that we're really just going to clear. Everything else will just be kept wooded. But the driveway will come up all the way up to here. Normally I would cut this, but I think the driveway is going to get started in like 2 weeks. So I'm just going to leave some of this and they can dig it out. So the driveway's all the way down there, going to come all the way up. House is over there. So we'll come all the way up. That way we got access once all these trees come down. And most of this stuff some of these are ash trees that just are diseased, so they should come down anyway, but a lot of are just seeds that fell a long time ago and trees that really should have never been. Anything that we can keep, we will, but this will all get trimmed up for the driveway, and these couple trees will all come down. So the sun back here will be nuts, so it would be good for the solar. But like I said, straight down all the way, you'll basically hit a pin that we set, and then from there all the way out to where you saw where I first started talking about the green ribbons. That's the 4 acre square. And I mean, you can see we're really far from that corner that I was at way down there. So it's a really nice 4 acres. It's definitely usable. Some stuff like the garden might need to be tiered in the backside in order to level it out how I want it, but that'll be fun. There's no shortage of boulders and rocks here. So there's the flag for the top of the driveway. No shortage of boulders and rocks, so plenty of resources on the land that we can use. Just really figuring out ways to move everything around, set everything in place. But that's the exciting part, right? that's about it. Pretty stoked. Pretty stoked that all this is cut down now. And I think I want to have him start the driveway in the next week or two. I mean, for his sake, that way, you know, everything's cleared right now so they can see what they're doing. I think they're going to be pulling away from the stone wall. The stone wall is pretty BA, runs the whole length of the property, 2,000 feet, and then turns. But I'm hoping that what we're going to do is clear a lot of this stuff away to expose the wall. But we need to put a small swale in there to, you know, run the stormwater, you know, down to the culvert that's going to be on this side of the Shabin. The culvert will go down and run off to the lower lot, and then eventually into a pond, and then we'll kind of control it from there to divert it out towards the swale in the street. That's this trip in a nutshell. I think I'm gonna. I just downloaded all the cards for the game trail cameras that are set up. I saw a cool little video of a doe and its fawn, I guess. It was super cute. But I just downloaded all that stuff so that my wife could check it out when I got back. And now I know the square. It's the only thing I didn't cut. But definitely have some brush piles to burn when the weather gets a little wetter. But I have some signs to post and a few other odds and ends to do. And then that'll sum up this trip. Thanks, Rock. That'll come up when the driveway's done. It's a shame a lot of these, like these trees and stuff will have to come down too, but it'll be nice and clear, and we'll be replanting some stuff ourselves. If I can't eat it, we won't plant it. Thanks for hanging out. I don't normally hold this stick. Hopefully you can see me. Thanks for hanging out while I've been here, and I know it's not super exciting. It's just like a walk in the woods. I'm not typically like a vlog kind of guy, or as Starry Hilder always called it, her vlog. I always like to try and do something that's at least fun to watch, or you learn something, or I learn something too, or we learn something together. According to my solar video, I had some comments that I appreciated, but that I made a hydrogen bomb pretty much. So I'll take that into consideration. But yeah, I always like to try and do something fun. I know up here it's just really been maintaining. Like I said earlier, hopefully that's going to change and get some cool stuff happening. I know that the orchard is something that we're really adamant about. We don't want to be too hasty and get everything rocking and rolling with the orchard just in case we make a wrong decision, but we can always fix it. But we also don't want to wait another year or two to plant anything, because obviously it's going to take a while until it fruits and we can eat that stuff. So we'd rather get it in now and have it start doing its thing, so that when we're up here full time and we're living here, we can sort of reap the benefits. But yeah, that's it, man. It's always tough being up here by myself too. My wife always says she's just, you know, moral support or something, but she busts her backside when she's up here. She always says, I just keep going until you tell me to stop. Makes me sound like I'm not so nice, but I promise I am. But hopefully she'll be stoked that everything's cleared up and ready to rock. And, you know, hopefully the next time you see me, we're either putting in a driveway or doing some excavation for the foundation and all that good stuff. But really appreciate you guys hanging out, tuning in, visiting the ShabinLife, all that good stuff. And leave your comments down below if you have any. Make some comments if you want to. Say whatever you want. Enjoy yourself. Catch you on the next one. Bye.